Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here. How are you guys doing? Hope you're all doing well. Let me just get us straight there. For some reason, oh, it hasn't started just yet. For some reason, the mic seems to be on a wrong default for some reason there. So, good thing I double checked before I started talking there. But how you guys doing? Hope you guys are all doing well. Just waiting for PMQs to start. This is Prime Minister's Questions on the 14th of May 2025. Deepskin, good afternoon. Hope you're doing well. And Jane Wallace there from France. Hope you're doing well as well. Oh, my headphones are caught on the wrong side there as well. Should be starting any moment.
Come to Prime Minister's Questions. Can I
Let's
welcome
get straight
into the
into
gallery
it.
the speakers of Anguilla, Bermuda, British Virgin Islands, the Falkland Islands, Gibraltar, Montserrat and St Helena. Lorraine Beavers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Question number one.
Mr. Speaker, over the past week we've secured a historic trade deal with India and a landmark agreement with the United States, protecting and creating British jobs, slashing tariffs and driving economic growth. We've also published a white paper setting out how this government will end the open borders experiment of the party opposite, bringing net migration down, backing British workers and delivering fair control of our borders. Mr. Speaker, I know the whole House will also want to mark the 40th anniversary of the Bradford City fire. We remember the victims of that devastating tragedy and celebrate the strength of the community. Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in this House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
Beavers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 14 years of Conservative cuts have stripped the Environment Agency of the resources and the staff they need to properly deal with badly managed landfill sites, blighting communities like mine. The Jameson Road landfill site in my constituency of Blackpool North and Fleetwood has been producing toxic stenches for over a year now, causing nosebleeds, headaches, vomiting and breathing problems for my residents. Will the Prime Minister commit to ensure the Environment Agency have the staff and resources to police badly managed sites like this and across the country so they can act swiftly and effectively to protect communities like mine?
I will just point this out. Like, I don't have a problem with the question, but it does bother me slightly watching her scroll her iPad to read out the question. It does bother me slightly when I see that. You know, I do think politicians who can stand up and give a question without a need of paper and that, I do think it does make them a bit more brighter. I'm not saying she's a bad MP or she's not doing her job or anything, but it does look. It's just this question and everything just looks so scripted and a bit cringe to me. In the fact that it's just scrolling along, reading it out there. I have to say, DJ Mardimu, Dirty Neck, Alistair Keir, good to see you all. Hope you're all doing well.
Mr. Speaker, I love the fact that when anyone says 14 years of a Conservative government, they'll go, oh no, that's how the country feels. Mr. Speaker, once again, a hard-working Labour MP clearing up the mess that was left behind. Our residents deserve far better. We expect rapid improvements. We're closely monitoring air quality and won't hesitate to take further action. She's right, we must tackle rogue operators who blight our communities. That's why we've boosted Environment Agency funding by £188 million, alongside tough new rules on incinerators and commercial fly tippers.
More needs to be done about this. I've spoken in the past, as you guys know, about the rubbish around the alleyway, around the block from where I am as well. It's something that really, you know, this kind of thing really does need to be clamped down on. Not enough has been done on that.
Leader of the Opposition, Kemi Bennett.
If I may, Mr. Speaker, Sir Roy Stone served 13 chief whips and prime ministers from Margaret Thatcher to Boris Johnson, and I'd like to pay tribute to his extraordinary service and send my best wishes to his family. And also, before we start, Mr. Speaker, I would like to say to the Prime Minister how horrified I was to hear about the attack on his family home. It is completely unacceptable. And I think I speak for the whole House when I say that this wasn't just an attack on him, but on all of us and on our democracy.
Well said.
Yesterday, we learned that unemployment is up 10% since the election. Why does the Prime Minister think unemployment is rising on his watch?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, can I pay tribute to Roy Stone as well and the service that was given us in various capacities. Can I thank her for her words about the attacks on me and my family and the kind messages from many others in the last few days. She did actually message me pretty well straight away, and I really do appreciate that, and she's absolutely right that this is an attack on all of us, on democracy and the values that we stand for. Mr. Speaker, she comes here every week to talk the country down. We've got 200,000 new jobs, record investment, 4 interest rates cut. Contrast that to the disastrous Liz Truss mini-budget, inflation through the roof, and a £22 billion black hole.
Well, that wasn't much there. Well, it's up to you, whoever you want to watch Leapskin. That's fine. You know, Graham is entitled to his views. However, you know, if he wants to go on, can you turn the Parliament feed sound up a bit? Is it a bit low? I'll turn it up a little bit. Let me know if that's all right.
I'm not sure the Prime Minister even knew that unemployment was up, but there's no point him blaming everyone else. The fact is, Conservatives reduced the deficit every year until the pandemic, more than doubled the personal allowance. We left 4 million extra jobs, tackled the post-pandemic inflation spike, and left the fastest-growing economy in the G7.
Yeah, and at the same time, while you kept going on about reducing the debt, everyone was worse off. Everybody's been worse off. Councils are worse off, leaving the European Union. And then guess what? COVID happened, and then you had to borrow again, and you've ended up with more money than before. And yeah, everyone's all worse off as a direct result of things that you've done. So yeah, I'm not buying into that.
Let's talk about what is happening today. Let's look at Beals, a 180-year-old department store in Dorset. They survived 2 world wars and the winter of discontent, but they couldn't survive this Labour government. Beals is having, and I quote, Mr. Speaker, a Rachel Reeves closing down sale. What does the Prime Minister have to say to all the people who have lost their jobs?
Mr. Speaker, nobody wants to see job losses, but she must be the only person left in the country who thinks the economy was booming after the last government. We've created new jobs, record investment, trade deals that they tried. The India deal, I think they tried for 8 years and failed. We did that deal. They talked about a US deal. We did that deal. We tend to get a stronger relationship with the EU. The former trade minister must be the only former trade minister who's against all trade deals which boost our economy.
It's all well and good saying signing these trade deals and boosting the economy and whatnot, but it's actually what people are feeling in their pocket. It's actually how businesses are doing. You know, the bigger businesses will do fine because they can subsidise the cost. But medium and small businesses, especially on the national insurance hike on the employers, that cost has to come from somewhere, and they're not going to eat out of their profits. And if some of them aren't making profits or simply on the evens, they're going to have to subsidise that cost somewhere. Well, if that means having less staff, and which means more work for the same person, or it means that the prices of that shops are going to have to go up to pay for those costs for the national insurance hike. The costs have to come from somewhere. So to say that businesses are better off, I'm not hearing that. I'm not hearing that. Like I've always said that I would see at the end of this year, like I said about the National Healthcare Service, I would see how things are at the end of this year to see if we are seeing signs that things are improving. And still, we are in May. We're almost at the halfway point of the year. And hand on heart, right now, I don't see people's lives better off. Now, granted, Phil Morehouse has made this argument, and it's a fair argument that a lot of laws and a lot of changes that Labour are going to be bringing in haven't been implemented yet because of how procedure works in Parliament. And I understand that. I understand it takes time for some of these things. I understand that, and I appreciate that remark. But there are decisions that this government have made that have made things worse. That have made things worse for people. And we know what they are.
She says she's against the India deal, even though it's got the same provisions she put on the table. She's against the US deal, even though it saves thousands of jobs in car manufacturing. And Mr. Speaker, most absurdly, she says she's going to rip up the EU deal when she hasn't even seen what's on the page. They're reduced to a brain rot. A once great political party is sliding into brain-dead oblivion.
That is true. They are sliding into brain dead oblivion. I think we can all agree with that for sure. Like the things she's saying about the US trade deal. Like, here's the thing, guys. Like, we don't know, like, the details. Based on the details that we've seen on the US-UK trade deal, it's not a bad deal considering everything that's going on. It's not like you like. I know I've tried to pick holes in it. And it's, all things considered, you know, with Donald Trump, it's not that bad of a deal in all seriousness. Like, I really do encourage people, don't take my word for it. Don't take the word of Conservatives or Reform with regards to the UK-US trade deal. Look at what it actually says on it.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very happy to welcome his tiny tariff deal, but the fact is, it has put us in a worse position than we were in March. He should not over-egg the pudding. Let's talk about how things are getting worse now. In every month of this year, household names like Sainsbury's, Tesco, Asda, and Santander have cut staff. The ONS estimates that there are 100,000 fewer jobs than a year ago. And this was before his jobs tax, which will make things worse. Can the Prime Minister promise the House that by this time next year, unemployment will be lower than it is today?
We can't make such a promise like that. That's a ridiculous thing. But those numbers are definitely worrying if the ONS are statistically staying them. That is a great deal of cause for concern.
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I think she just said a tiny tariff deal. Can I suggest that she gets the train to Solihull? Yes, exactly. 2 hours, goes to speak to the workforce at JLR, their families, and their communities, to tell them she would rip up the deal that protects their jobs. And when she's done that, she might travel across to Scunthorpe and tell the steelworkers there she's going to rip up the deal that saves their jobs.
Why don't you go to Grangemouth and tell them and ask them about their jobs? Why don't you go up there, Prime Minister, and talk to the people at Grangemouth? How about you talk to the people at Port Talbot as well? How about those jobs, Keir Starmer, when you talk about protecting jobs? You know, you want to talk about protecting jobs. What about those jobs? Let's talk about them, yeah? Let's talk about them, guys. Jane Wallace, good to see you there. Hope you're doing well.
And then if she's got time, go up to Scotland and talk to the whisky distilleries. Tell them she'd rip up the deal that's creating 1,200 jobs for them, boosting their exports, and then come back here next week and tell us what reaction she got.
So I didn't hear a promise to get unemployment down, and that's because he knows things are going to get worse. And this goes wider than businesses. Last week, I met staff and patients at Farley Hospice. They do fantastic work, but they need to find an additional £250,000 to pay the jobs tax. How does he suggest Farley Hospice, a charity which relies on donations, pays for his tax hike?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we have provided £100 million boosting for the sector, and children and young person hospitals received £26 million funding this year.
But what about the question was related to the specific hospice here that is going to have to find that money. So the question is, where are they going to get that money from? You can talk about the money you've provided for the sector. We're talking about on an individual, this particular individual case. Are you going to answer that? Of course you're not.
But, Mr. Speaker, she turns up every week to carp from the sidelines. But what she doesn't do, she moans about what we had to do in the budget to stabilise the economy. But she hasn't got the courage to stand there and say that she would reverse the next decisions that we take. And I know why. It's because she doesn't want to say she's against the £26 billion investment in our NHS. She doesn't want to say she's against the £1.2 billion more for our police. She doesn't want to say she's against the £3.2 billion more for our schools. All the time she doesn't have the courage of her convictions. It shows that her criticism is totally confected.
I mean, this is the same rhetoric over and over, Keir. I mean, like, at the end of the day, you didn't answer the question.
Mr. Speaker, I can't believe the Prime Minister is still using this figure. We had this very conversation at the dispatch box. He knows it is just capital spending. It's either he's not paying attention or he is saying things to disguise what is going on. That money will not pay for the jobs tax. He knows that, and the hospices know it too. And the other people who know that things are getting worse are the 5 leading business groups in the UK. They say that his so-called employment rights bill will be deeply damaging to growth.
I don't agree with this. Let me be very clear. The Employment Rights Bill is a good bill. Okay, it is a very good bill, and it will benefit and protect employees. This is a very important bill, and it must be enshrined. Don't buy into this. The businesses that this would make things worse. We have to protect employees. They are going to be undermined very, very much in the future, and their rights need to be protected here. This any kind of undermining is nonsense from her and from anybody else for that matter.
Does the Prime Minister accept that they are right, or does he believe that he knows better than business?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it's the same old Tories. Every time better rights for workers are on the table, they vote against them. Respect and dignity and protection at work are good for workers, good for the economy, and good for growth.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister needs to listen to business. You cannot have employment rights without employment. Labour always forgets that it is not government that creates growth, it is business that creates growth. And businesses are closing, and they are blaming him and his Chancellor. There are 100,000 fewer jobs, Mr. Speaker. Hospices, charities, nurseries, they are facing bills from the jobs tax that they cannot afford. Even the unions say workers are being thrown on the scrap heap. And all of this before his unemployment bill makes hiring even more expensive. When will he admit that Labour isn't working?
Well, one thing that will not work is Conservative, that is for sure.
Mr. Speaker, she says we should listen to She should listen to business.
I will have the last... Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, she should listen to business. They're in favour of our trade deals. The India deal, fantastic deal. Tariffs on cars cut to 10%. Whiskey and gin, tariffs halved. £4.8 billion into our economy. What does she say she'll do with the India deal? She wants to rip it up. The US deal that saves thousands upon thousands of jobs. What does she want to do? She wants to rip it up. The EU deal, good for our economy. She's not going to even wait to see what it says. She absurdly says she's going to rip it up. It is so unserious. She even was reduced last week to calling the Indian government, accusing them of fake news. No wonder she did so badly as a Trade Secretary. Mr. Speaker, the project for them is over. They're sliding into oblivion. They're a dead party walking.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thousands of British jobs have been safeguarded by this government's trade agreement with the US. Including those in my constituency who work for Jaguar Land Rover, like my next-door neighbour Ollie, proving that when Labour negotiates, workers win. Can the Prime Minister confirm to me that he will continue to stand up for all workers and our vital motor manufacturing industry as he negotiates a better deal for Britain around the world?
Well, can I pay tribute to her for her work with JLR, standing up for the jobs in her constituency. The deal that we've agreed saves thousands of jobs in our car industry, securing the livelihoods of countless families. And, Mr. Speaker, I've been up to JLR on a number of occasions, including last week. I know firsthand what it means for their workforce, for their families and for their communities. And the Leader of the Opposition says she would go and tell them she's going to rip it up. She should go up there. She says she's going to get against it. The Reform leader said, what did he say about JLR? He said JLR deserves to go bust. Shame on him. Labour are striking deals in the national interest.
Of the Liberal Democrats, Sir Ed Davey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And on behalf of my party, can I offer heartfelt congratulations to His Holiness, Pope Leo XIV? And can I offer our support to the Prime Minister and his family after the appalling arson attacks on his home? And can I echo his thanks to our brilliant police and firefighters? Mr. Speaker, 3 years ago, the previous government was faced with a choice. Their own Migration Advisory Committee told ministers that recruiting more care workers required improved conditions, career progression and better pay. But the Conservatives chose not to do that and instead brought in large numbers of care workers from overseas. Now, those carers looking after our loved ones in care homes should be thanked, not demonised.
Yes.
But will the Prime Minister do now the things the Conservatives refused to do, starting with a higher minimum wage for carers?
Prime Minister.
Well, that would be a good start. But considering that that they want to do British jobs for British workers when they won't even invest in the training needed, the government won't even invest in the training needed so that we can train up these care workers, well, that might be a bit difficult.
Can I first thank him for his comments about myself and my family? I do really appreciate it. It is important that we have fair pay for care workers, and that's why we've put in place our fair pay agreements. This is the first of its type. It will be applied first to care workers to ensure that they get fair pay, but also a better framework for progression. As he will know, most people leaving care work are leaving care work to go to the NHS because of the pay and the ability to progress. Our fair pay agreements will deal with that to make sure that in the future those jobs are more secure. And I would just add, Mr. Speaker, a declaration of interest. My sister is a care worker. I know firsthand how important the work is and how difficult sometimes the situation is facing them.
Shred Davy.
For that reply, it's a good first step, but we'll still be seeing people earning more in Amazon warehouses and supermarkets than care homes, and that will mean our loved ones going without the care that they need. But turning to the Middle East now, Mr. Speaker, for more than 10 weeks, Israeli forces have blocked food, water and medicine getting into Gaza. There is now a humanitarian catastrophe with 2 million people at risk of famine and 1 in 5 facing starvation. Rather than ending this crisis, the Netanyahu government is planning to seize all Gaza indefinitely. Now, I know the Prime Minister will agree that the blockade to Gaza should end, and I'm sure he would agree that it would be appalling if Netanyahu proceeds with that escalation. But will he act now and pick up the phone to President Trump for a joint plan to recognise Palestine and get food, water and medicine into Gaza?
Before we even hear from the Prime Minister's answer, because he's not going to criticise Israel anyway, and we know when they're not going to criticise Israel. The fact that this is coming from the leader of the Liberal Democrats shows the discontent that is brewing among MPs. Because I wouldn't have been surprised if we heard this from a backbench MP, but to hear this from the leader of the Liberal Democrats, that is quite significant, and it shows that not because we know that there's brewing behind Conservatives, behind Labour, and you've got the leader of the Liberal Democrats literally calling it now. Shows that they can't just keep sitting by and allowing this to happen. They shouldn't have allowed this to happen anyway. Now it's easy to say, well, what can the UK do? Well, there are things they can do. They can, as Ed Davey says, he can pick up the phone and talk to Donald Trump. Now, whether Donald Trump will do anything, I don't know. But we do know, one thing we do know, and this is a fundamental fact, Donald Trump likes good publicity. And what great publicity for Donald Trump would be that he and his team, he and his administration, were to negotiate a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, and that allows humanitarian aid in. That would be great publicity for Donald Trump. You put that on the phone to him, he will buy into that. Because at the end of the day, Donald Trump doesn't care about Gaza. He doesn't care about the Palestinian people. But he does like good publicity. And you know what? I will take a better pill to swallow if he does that. I honestly will. You know, like for all the... and don't get me wrong, what Donald Trump is doing is absolutely nasty what he's doing right now for the world. But he loves good publicity. And this is a good publicity stunt. If he can force Netanyahu in Israel's hand... And things right now between America and Israel aren't so cozy at the moment as well.
Prime Minister.
Well, I thank him for raising this because the situation in Gaza is simply intolerable and getting worse. And we are working with other leaders urgently to bring about rapid and unimpeded flow of humanitarian aid into Gaza, which is desperately needed, obviously alongside the release of hostages. And to get back to a ceasefire, and that work is going on through my team 24/7. I do believe that is the initial action that needs to be taken, but I still fundamentally believe that however remote it may seem at the moment, the pathway to a two-state solution is the only way for settled and lasting peace in the Middle East, and we will continue with our allies to pursue that path.
Won't happen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Found in my constituency, Durdle Door is one of the most iconic bathing sites in all the country. So last Friday, I was joined at Durdle Door by my honourable friends, the members for Bournemouth East, Bournemouth West, Poole, and most importantly, Ron, the local seal, to test the water quality at Durdle Door. Currently, water quality testing at bathing sites is only monitored from mid-May to September, which puts the health of all water users at risk who could be potentially swimming in pollution or sewage. With this in mind, will the Prime Minister work with me and my honourable friends to introduce all year round testing at popular bathing sites such as Durdle Door?
This should be 24/7 monitoring to ensure that the water quality is improving and that this is being dealt with by the water companies who have politicised our waters for God knows how long now under the Conservatives. Personally, obviously, I want to see the water companies nationalised, but we know that's not happening right now. But they should be monitored at least they should be monitored all year around, because you cannot trust these water companies when they are making record profits off the backs of us, the taxpayers.
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, everyone enjoying our beautiful beaches, lakes and rivers is entitled to know that the water is clean and safe. That's why we're modernising outdated bathing water regulations, including more regular monitoring of sites to reflect local demand. And after years of failure by the party opposite, we're acting through our plan for change through new powers to tackle pollution, including banning bonuses, jail terms for law-breaking bosses and real-time monitors of every sewage outlet.
Liz Saville-Roberts.
This Prime Minister once spoke of compassion and dignity for migrants and for defending free movement. Now he talks of islands of strangers and taking back control. Somebody here has to call this out, Mr. Speaker. It seems the only principle he consistently defends is whichever he last heard in a focus group. So I ask him, is there any belief he holds which survives a week in Downing Street?
Yes, the belief that she talks rubbish.
Rude. That is
Mr.
rude.
Mr. Speaker, I want to lead a country where we pull together and walk into the future as neighbours and as communities, not as strangers. And the loss of control of migration by the last government put all of that at risk. And that's why we're fixing the system based on principles of control, selection and fairness.
Absolute nonsense. This is all conspiracy theory bollocks. This island of strangers. It's all conspiracy theories, nothing more, nothing less. Anyone who believes this is fucking cuckoo and needs to wake up. It's nonsense, guys. It's absolute nonsense. It's all conspiracy theory nonsense. And the problem is you have some towns and areas and rural communities in places in England who have no idea what it is like to live with other societies and other integration. Yes, people who come to the UK must integrate. But guess what? There is nothing wrong with having a bit of their culture and a bit of their influence into the UK as well. It is a two-tier way of doing things. Britain is a multiculturalism country. England will never go back to a pure white-based nation. That is not going to happen. That is never going to happen. Get that through your head. There is no mass conspiracy plan to wipe out the white race in England or anywhere in the world. Again, that's also nonsense. People need to stop buying into these stupid conspiracy theories, because that's where this Prime Minister is getting these ideas from. He's so scared and terrified of reform. That's why he's going down these policies. He thinks he can win over the people who are already leaning on reform. He won't win them over. He won't win them over. And he's wasting his time with this.
The Brash.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Council tax is the most regressive and unfair tax in this country. It has become a tax on deprivation. The less affluent an area, the more you pay. The greater your need, the more you pay. A bandy property in Westminster pays just £1,017 a year. In Hartlepool, it's £2,495 a year.
Outrageous.
For a Band H property, the difference between those two areas is £3,000. It is hammering people in towns like Hartlepool. Does the Prime Minister agree that this unfairness cannot continue, and will he commit to addressing this inequality once and for all?
Prime Minister.
Well, I thank my honourable friend. He's been a dedicated campaigner on this for a very long time. As he knows, 14 years of mismanagement by the party opposite left councils on their knees with a total failure to improve and update how councils are funded. Through £69 billion of funding this year and the upcoming multi-year settlement, the first in over a decade, will give councils far greater certainty and stability. Our detailed funding review will create a fairer system to make sure his constituents see strong, affordable local services.
But it doesn't adjust the situation with the council tax bands. He made a valid point there. Of one band where it's cheaper in London and another one in Hartlepool where it's like 2,000. Like, it's ridiculous. That doesn't address the issue. The MP is right. There needs to be massive fundamental change to the council tax system. It's unfair. It's blatantly unfair.
Wendy Moore.
Mr. Speaker, while the Prime Minister prefers to take to the international stage, back here at home, Labour's Birmingham bin strike is now in its 10th week. Rubbish is still piled on the streets and recycling goes uncollected. And the reputation of the West Midlands is being trashed. His ministers continue to wash their hands of this. His mayor doesn't even want to talk about it. So will the Prime Minister come to the West Midlands and sort this out? Because at the moment, it's only the squeaky blinders that are winning.
Yeah, this bin strike that's still going on is absolutely ridiculous. She's absolutely right in saying that the government should step in on this issue and should stop ignoring it and saying, "Oh, it's the council needs to deal with it." Well, clearly the council and the city mayor needs to deal with it. Well, clearly they're not dealing with it, so the government should be stepping in to deal with it because it's absolutely ridiculous that it's gone this long on. They need to address this issue and stop dithering over it.
Prime Minister.
Well, further evidence, Mr. Speaker, of the decline of the Tory party when they say that going to Ukraine at the weekend to try and secure peace for Ukraine and for Europe and the security and defence of Europe is somehow the wrong priority.
That's not what she said, okay? I have my issues with the Conservatives, but that is not what she said. She said while the Prime Minister was away. That's what she said. She wasn't criticising, okay? I am defending this Conservative MP because she was not criticising the Prime Minister's decision to go abroad. Yeah, nobody's criticising the Prime Minister's decision to go abroad because he's been fantastic on the world stage. But we're talking about something that's been going on for 10 weeks and the Labour government have done bugger all about it.
That conflict has already massively impacted people in this country through the cost of living crisis and energy. Ukraine, Europe and we deserve peace and to live in peace. Mr. Speaker, on dealing with the bin strikes is the priority. We continue to call on Unite to suspend the strike immediately and bring the disruption to an end. We are supporting the Council to ramp up the cleaning operation and now collecting over 1,100 tonnes of waste every day and continue to offer our support so the backlog doesn't reappear.
And if you want to bring them round the table, you've got to offer them something that they want. Yeah, it's all well and good saying you guys need to come to the table. Well, if you're not going to give them what they want, they're going to continue to strike.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last week, I visited Sacred Heart Primary School in Hyndburn, where the excellent teachers expressed their frustration at the current SEND system. One wonderful boy, who despite being non-verbal and requiring personal support, has been waiting for over 18 months for an EHCP, and there is a risk now that he won't get a place in a school for the year ahead that suits his needs. How will the Prime Minister ensure that the voices of parents and children are at the heart of the SEND reforms that the government will bring forward?
Prime Minister.
Well, I thank my honourable friend. She's a powerful champion on this issue. Our principle is that every young person with special education needs should receive the right support to succeed. We've immediately announced an additional £1 billion for high needs funding, including almost 20 million for schools in Lancashire. We will support special schools and deliver truly inclusive places and expertise in mainstream schools to help every child thrive.
Yeah, one of the problems, you know, as somebody who suffered from special education needs and was fortunate enough to have that during my time in school, I was very fortunate. But there's a lot of children out there who don't have those places, who don't have those needs. And while it's easy for the government to say that they've got the money in the investment, not all children are getting through that gap. And I think if I was a child in the situation that I was in when I was younger, I would really struggle to get through.
Nigel Farage.
You have got to be kidding me. Sorry, 1 second, guys. I thought someone had come in the door. Doesn't look like it. Sorry, apologies.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We at Reform, a party that is alive and kicking, very much enjoyed your speech on Monday. You seem to be learning a very great deal from us. But can I encourage you, please, to go further as a matter of national security? As a
Matter of national security, my arse.
matter of national security. Over the weekend, an illegal immigrant from Iran, who we believe came by boat, was arrested in the north of England on serious charges of terrorism. Since the speech on Monday, 1,000 young, undocumented young males have crossed the English Channel. Does the Prime Minister agree now is the time to declare the situation in the English Channel as a national security emergency?
No! What a stupid bloody suggestion. No, it is not an emergency. It is a stupid idea. This is the exact same language and rhetoric that Donald Trump tried to impose on the border with Mexico. It's absolute nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. And this whole immigration thing can be killed with simply by setting up safe and legal routes in France. That's all you need to do to kill this situation. This is absolute nonsense.
It wasn't my speech, it was the Prime Minister's.
Mr. Speaker, the situation is serious. The last government lost control of the borders. We are taking powers. The Borders Bill, precisely to his point, the Borders Bill is the first bill to give terrorism-like powers to law enforcement, precisely so that we can get in before the crimes are committed, before people get to this country. That's why this is the most far-reaching provision ever for law enforcement to defend and secure our borders. And that's why it is extraordinary that he, of all people, voted against it. And sooner or later he's going to have to explain it.
Amanda Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, since my election, I've been championing and backing our country's plumbers, builders, electricians and all trades. These are not the people just building Britain, but holding all of our communities together. That's why I've been campaigning for tougher sentencing and action on tool theft, and for the real cost of this crime to be recognised. I want to firstly thank everyone in the sector who's backed the campaign, because together we've shown that the message is clear. 14 years of government neglect. It's time for action and change. Will the Prime Minister work with me, the Secretary of State for Justice, and myself to include my bill as we review sentencing and justice so the punishment finally fits this crime?
Can I just say, what on earth is that necklace she's wearing, and why is that okay to wear in the House of Parliament? Just wanted to get that off my chest.
Can I commend my honourable friend? She's led the campaign to highlight the devastating impact of these crimes. Mr. Speaker, for hard-working small businesses, the theft of tools isn't just a violation. It can mean thousands of pounds of potential work lost, with a huge impact to businesses and to families. We're investing over £1.2 billion extra into policing, with 13,000 new neighbourhood police to focus on crimes that impact on communities the most. And I pay tribute to my honourable friend, and I know the Justice Secretary will look at the details carefully.
Andrew Stone.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Whether you agree with the Prime Minister's net zero targets or not, I'm sure the Prime Minister will agree that you won't achieve them, or he won't achieve them, without taking people with him. The cabling corridor, substation corridor for the Morgan and Morecambe offshore wind farm is now one of the most objected to national energy infrastructure projects in the country. And what is angering myself and thousands of others is that there is a perfectly alternative cabling route further up the coastline, which would actually have local economic benefit, would be more cost effective as a whole life cycle project and could connect to existing national grid infrastructure. But no one is listening. So will the Prime Minister now listen and pause the planning inquiry for the existing application and ask the Department to consider and cost the alternative route to avoid untold devastation to our coastline and countryside?
Whatever you might think of the question and his statement, this is exactly a politician, regardless of what you think. He's not got his paper in front of him. He's not got an iPad. He knows exactly what his issue is, and he's standing up there with his hands in doing so as well. Do I have to like it? Do I have to agree with it? And I think if what he's saying is true, and if it means less cost effective as well, and it's also better for the energy, why not look at it?
Can I thank him for his question? As he will know, the Secretary of State is going through a quasi-judicial exercise, and therefore I'm limited in what I can say, but let me do the best I can within those constraints, because the project is going through its examination, where interested parties can put forward their views on the application and should do so. And more broadly, as we drive forward renewable projects, the planning process is designed to ensure impacts are carefully considered. Thank you.
Fred Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The United Kingdom has rightly helped arm Ukraine with modern, effective capability, and we're sending them some £4.5 billion this year. But after decades of relying on the peace dividend, our own forces are ill-equipped for modern warfare. With colleagues interested in defence technology, I'm developing a proposal for a joint UK-Ukraine production hub on British soil. This would support Ukraine while also modernising our own forces at warfighting scale and creating the jobs and know-how needed to rearm and stay secure. Will the Prime Minister use his good offices to help support this proposal?
Prime Minister
should seriously consider such a proposal. The Prime Minister should seriously consider such a proposal. One of the biggest problems that we have is a reduction in armed forces. And he says about the recruitment. You've got to incentivise people into it. You know, if you've got to incentivize people, if we want people to take up joining the army, you've got to incentivize them to do so. I welcome this proposal, but it won't solve the issue in terms of recruitment and retention just as much. We need to resolve that issue. It's all well and good upgrading and modernizing our equipment, but it's no good if we don't have any soldiers.
Minister.
Well, my honourable and gallant friend is right that our ironclad support for Ukraine should go hand in hand with firing up our own defence industries. And that means well-paid, secure jobs right across the country, including in Plymouth, and strengthening national security. We reiterated our support for Ukraine in Kyiv last weekend, and I'm proud that British industries are playing their part supporting Ukraine against Russia's illegal invasion. I'll make sure that he meets the relevant minister to discuss his proposal.
John Long.
No comment whatsoever, just see support for Ukraine. I wish he would comment a bit more on it, if I'm honest.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. People in the real world are disgusted by the Energy Secretary's obsessive pursuit of net zero at any cost. The Scottish Borders is under attack with solar farms the size of towns, massive wind farms and now mega pylons scarring unspoilt landscapes. Nobody sensible supports his crazed crank policies that will put jobs at risk and rip up farmland. So when will the Prime Minister step in and stop his Energy Secretary throwing taxpayers' money at this nonsense?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, only a few years ago, dealing with the climate challenge was a shared endeavour across this House. And it's yet further evidence of how far his party has fallen that they...
Yeah, what's happened is that they've been offered a stack load of money from anti-climate skeptics and oil and gas companies and said, start denouncing net zero, start denouncing anything climate related. Whatever the language, just start denouncing it and we'll keep throwing money at you guys. You know, through under the cuffs means he's under the cuff, just like many of the Conservatives are now. It's a real shame that they've gone down this direction, but that's what happens when money is thrown in your face.
I cannot see the significance and importance of tackling one of the major challenges of our time. I think we should rise to that challenge, not be defeatist about it. And it's further evidence, as far as I can see, that the Tory project is just finished.
Jake Richards. Mr. Speaker, male suicide is a tragic epidemic in our country. Each week, almost 100 men take their own lives, and suicide is the biggest killer of men aged under 50. In my constituency, I'm working with Andy's Man Club in Maltby, the learning community in Dinnington, and Better Today in Kiverton Park to try and raise awareness about the fantastic groups who offer support for men in the most difficult circumstances. Will the Prime Minister use this opportunity to support the campaign that we are undertaking in my constituency, and also reassure those groups and my constituents that mental health services for men will be a priority for his government?
What a commendable thing. I commend the work he does. I really do, especially as somebody who has suffers, and every now and then still, mental health is something that never goes away. We've talked about it here on this, and a lot of focus is rightfully so on the women and the issues that they have, but we also don't talk enough about men's issues. Men's issues is something that we also don't talk enough about, and I'm very glad that he's brought up something as tragic and as terrible as it is, that so many men take their own lives, and it's something that we need to help these people in any way, shape or form, and show them that their life does matter, that they do have value, that they do matter, and that you can still have a decent life of some sorts. But taking your own life is not the way out of whatever your problems are, and everybody needs that support in one way, shape or form. We've got to help people in those situations as best as we possibly can. And I really do commend him and the work that he is doing on this issue. I really, really cannot stress that enough, guys.
Can I thank him for raising this crucial issue? And across the House, I know members will have their own personal and tragic experiences of suicide. Mr. Speaker, we've launched a call for evidence on our men's health strategy, which will improve men's health in all parts of the country, including tackling devastatingly high suicide rates. We're also investing £26 million in new mental health crisis centres, funding talking therapies for 380,000 more people, and recruiting 8,500 more mental health workers.
Bobby Dean.
Deirdre's next said, I saw some figures the other day about UK's male suicide. It's truly shocking, to be honest. It is. It's not something that's talked about, Deirdre. It's not something that's talked about enough. It's might be something next month, guys, I am doing a mental health live stream. I think it's a good time to remind you guys, those who are here, I am doing a mental health live stream next month on Wednesday, the 4th of June. So if you want to join me for that, you're more than welcome to. Wednesday, the 4th of June is the next mental health live stream. So if you want to join me for that, you're more than welcome to do so, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The plans to upgrade St Helier Hospital, including the delivery of a new specialist emergency care building, have been put back by 10 years. Now, I'm talking to the Trust about a way to bring all or part of those plans forward, but in the meantime, they have a very real fear that some of the buildings on the existing estate are at risk of catastrophic failure before the decade is out. So can the government reassure me that they'll work with the local trust on a plan to maintain and adapt the existing estate to ensure that St Helier Hospital can survive all the way through to the major works being complete?
This is infuriating. This is so important. Don't get me wrong, the government said they've set aside to help with a lot of hospitals and that with regards to certain buildings and structures. And yes, it's all well and good bashing the Conservatives, but they need, for me, yes, it's all, I know that they're trying to do it, they're doing a massive restructuring of the NHS right now. But my God, please don't let these hospitals crumble. Ensure that the money is there to invest in them, that they don't, that the buildings that they're in are safe and secure. It's ridiculous that money has been held back on just on the functions of these hospitals themselves. I know we want to see improvements to them, as well as continuations of new hospitals and whatnot, but at least the functions of these buildings, the investment should be put into them now.
Is he standing?
The honourable member's constituents have been badly let down by the previous government's empty promises, which we're never going to deliver. We put the new hospitals programme on a sustainable financial footing, increasing the NHS capital budget to record levels so we can address the backlog of critical maintenance, repairs and upgrades. And I'll make sure that he gets a meeting with the relevant minister to discuss the particular case.
Oh, I hope he gets a meeting with West Streeting, but whether or not he'll get the funding he needs, I doubt it very much, guys.
Melanie Neal.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Great Grimsby and Cleethorpes is the renewable energy capital of England, delivering homegrown, secure energy and boosting local skills. And over 12,000 people are employed in a clean energy job in Greater Lincolnshire. But these jobs are now under threat from Reform's new mayor, who has declared war on renewables, putting livelihoods at risk. What steps will the Prime Minister take to protect jobs by supporting the supply chain and delivery of renewable projects?
Very curious to see how the Prime Minister responds to this.
Mr. Speaker, she's a superb champion for energy security, driving down bills and the good secured jobs that renewables offer. And the parties opposite are climate defeatists. Anti-jobs, anti-growth, anti-business and anti-investment. And they should go and peddle their policies to the tens of thousands of people, working people in this country, working in renewables every single day. They don't think that Britain has the skills and they would deny us incredible opportunities. We're focused on securing billions in investment, creating tens of thousands of jobs and taking us off the roller coaster of an international fossil fuels.
Wasn't really pointing too much at Reform. He was just kind of trying to throw shade on all the parties there. Didn't really feel that one.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A constituent of mine, Victor Franklin, was made severely disabled after a savage dog attack left him with multiple amputations.
Jesus.
Will the Prime Minister explain why pensioners like Victor, who become severely disabled after retirement, are excluded from claiming personal independence payments and are instead limited to the lesser support of attendance allowance? And will he commit to reviewing this unfair rule?
What an absolute terrible, terrible, terrible tragedy that occurred on that person. My heart goes out to them. And this, once again, I'm very you can bash the Conservatives all you want, Prime Minister, all you want on things, but make no mistake about it. There are a number of cases of people like the constituent that she mentioned, who are in this situation where they are not going to have the payments that they have, who are going to struggle, who are already struggling, who are going to have absolutely nothing, and are going to and may even die as a direct result of this political decision that your government is going to be taking.
Prime Minister.
Can I extend my thoughts to Victor and the awful circumstances that she describes? It must be extremely challenging. We do have to reform the system that we've got. It's not working. I think there's a general agreement about that, but the principles have to be clear, that we protect and secure those that need that protection and security. We help those who can work into work, and those who can work should work. But we have to reform the system that we've got to make it a better system, because what we've got doesn't work.
Yeah, so what better way to do it than to make it harder for people to claim PIP, because it's already impossible enough as it is to claim PIP. There are hundreds of thousands of cases of people who have tried to apply for it, and they tell you countless times how difficult it is. And anyone who tells you that it is an easy piece of cake, it's not. It's not a cakewalk.
Nigel Callister.
Mr. Speaker. Every week I meet families in Barking and Dagenham who tell me that they worry about paying for their bills because they are on a 0-hour contract. My constituents want the chance to work hard in a secure job, earn a decent wage and have dignity in their workplace. As Labour plans for change delivers the biggest uplift in workers' rights in a generation, does the Prime Minister agree with me that Reform MPs working and voting against our employment rights bill show that they are no friend of workers in this country?
Thank you. Thank you for calling that out. That needs to be reminded for all those people who keep saying that Reform are on the right side. Well, they voted against workers' rights. They voted against the Work Employment Right Bill because they want to take your rights away. Reform voted against that. They cannot be trusted. They don't care. They are just stooges. They're going to take advantage of any opportunity they can. They are not in favour of you, in favour of your rights. They want to take your rights away. That's why they voted against the Employment Rights Bill, because they don't want you having more rights than all you already have. They want to take your rights away. And if you don't believe me, you've got Google in front of you. Go and Google it. Go to the government's website. Look at what the MPs for Reform UK have voted for and voted against. And you will find that all the MPs from Reform UK voted against it. And if you want more details, go and have a look at the bill itself and the benefits that it will do for employees. Trust me when I've said, and I've already shared, I am no fan of Labour. But this workers' rights bill is a good thing for workers.
She's absolutely right. Let's be clear what the parties opposite voted against. Stronger statutory sick pay, they voted against. The right to guaranteed hours, they voted against. Protection from unfair dismissal, they voted against. Stronger protection for pregnant mothers, they voted against. Insecure work, a package worth £600 to the poorest workers, they voted against. Mr. Speaker, we're backing British workers. They vote against them at every turn.
Adam Dance. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
And look at it, they're smiling, they're laughing, they're having a fun about it because they don't care. They're in their pretty jobs, they've got plenty of money, so they don't care. And you're going to still cast your vote to Reform. You really need to look in the mirror if you still think voting Reform is best for you.
Maternity services in Yeovil are due to shut on Monday after a deeply flawed CQC inspection in January and be moved to Musgrove Park Hospital in Taunton, which does not have the capacity for an extra 1,300 births a year. While the closure is initially for 6 months, I've received no guarantee it will open again. This creates huge fear. Will the Prime Minister or relative minister agree to meet with me and colleagues in the South West to stop this decision?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm grateful to him for raising this issue, which must be of concern. I'm not across the details of it, I'm afraid, at this stage, but I will make sure that he gets a meeting with the relevant minister to get to the bottom of the issue that he's described.
That completes Prime Minister's questions.
We didn't say that, but okay. Oh, thank you guys for your comments, both on Twitch and YouTube. Much appreciated, you guys there on that. It was definitely some much better questions. I thought some of the questions we had were much better, especially from MPs on the backbenches, as opposed to last week's Prime Minister's questions. There were some very powerful ones there, some good ones there. I thought Kemi Badenoch was mixed. I didn't think she had a great performance. I don't think the Prime Minister looked very great in the back and forth between those two. If I'm honest, I thought Ed Davies' question on the Gaza ceasefire, on the Israel and the Gaza ceasefire, was very, very good. The way he put it, and I think that Nigel Farage, I hate that he's been given every now and then he keeps getting a platform. I don't think I could stand 6 questions a day from Nigel Farage as opposition leader. I think that would make me sick, but I think that's the direction we may be heading at the moment, because the Conservatives are not changing their tune in any way, shape or form. But yeah, obviously the one thing that stuck out for me most was, of course, the question about men's suicide, which obviously is a very very sensitive issue, and I've talked about suicide in the past with you guys on our on mental health, on the mental health live stream quite a while back, as you guys, for those who have been here for a long time, remember. And I may talk about it and in the June's mental health live stream on the June the 4th. If you guys want to, I'm pretty sure it's Wednesday, June the 4th. Yep, it is June the 4th, just double checking. Please join me for that if you can. Thank you guys for all your comments on both chats. I really appreciate it. I do apologise if I haven't gotten to them. Dodgy next said it's horrendous and should be classed as an emergency. It's horrendous and it should be classed as an emergency and dealt with urgency. Starman needs to go, says Paul Burberry. because they're single issues. This is why immigration shouldn't be ignored. I'm not saying immigration shouldn't be ignored, but we know the solution. And Zoe Gardner, the immigration expert on this issue, has said it time and time again how it needs to be dealt with, and nobody wants to listen to her. Thank you, Leapskin, for that comment. Much appreciated. And thank you, Astakir, for being here, for moderating as well. Much appreciated. So yeah, guys, I will be back tonight at 8 PM for another live stream. I know I've already done 2. One more, guys, one more. Do join me for that, as we will watch and react to certain clips online. We'll definitely be looking at how Donald Trump has been over in the Middle East. Would be definitely interesting to hear some of his thoughts and reactions there, as well as other things that are taking place in the UK as well beyond the world. So do join me for the Snowflake Watch tonight at 8 PM. I am done here, guys. Enjoy the rest of your days, whatever you guys are doing, and take care of yourselves. And thank you all so much for watching. But just before I go, if you haven't already, please hit that like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share this across social media so others are notified of this video. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing. If you're on the Twitch TV, please consider hitting that follow button and the bell notification icon so you'll be notified of when I go live. And for those on YouTube, if you want to financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p. And you can even join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on either of those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.